Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today is Monday. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare Beta Weekend 2 has come to a close. That should be the last public play session of the game before it is available at full retail release in about a month's time from now. I'd like to use today's video to sort of conclude, wrap up my thoughts about the beta, my excitement, expectations for the full release, and also touch upon what this means for the Battlefield community. With such a top-tier Call of Duty game coming out, something creating huge amounts of hype, and game modes that are designed to directly compete with the Battlefield franchise, what does it mean for the future of Battlefield? Now, I'd like to start off by saying, regardless of what you thought of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare gameplay or whether or not the specific styles of the game appeal to you, one thing for sure is that on a technical standpoint, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is the most impressive game they've launched ever, in my opinion. The cross-platform play feature functionality alone is basically going to become an industry standard for probably lots of shooters going forward. The balance between console and PC seems to be pretty darn well managed. I didn't see too many massive complaints about it. Ultimately, it felt like a great step forward for the franchise, bringing all platforms together. No longer do you have to be worried about what platform you've invested in, what platform your friends play on. You can all play together, and it should be a fairly seamless experience. Incredible, massive feat. Congratulations, Infinity Ward, for pulling that off. It will become a standard for your franchise, and my guess is that pretty much all other top-tier shooter franchises out there are going to have to start implementing that sort of functionality to stay competitive. And also, one of the other major benefits of that implementation is shared servers. So sometimes the PC community has had less servers or less things to do, especially not at peak hours in some of the Call of Duty games. This will make it so that everybody's sharing servers, so if population is lower on one platform than another, it shouldn't make a difference in terms of what game modes are available to you. That's really exciting. Now, from another technical standpoint, Call of Duty has implemented a 64-player game mode with a huge map with vehicles, and it plays pretty well in terms of frame rate and performance. The netcode could certainly use a little bit of work. There's inconsistencies between the death experience and kill cam, but again, that's pretty much par for the course with the Call of Duty franchise. Still, from a technical aspect, they've been able to replicate what has been achieved in Battlefield for the most part in their own game. There's no destruction, the graphics aren't quite as good, the vehicle physics are nowhere near on the same level, but they've still implemented something of the same scale, and it works, it's functional, so congratulations on that feat. Now, the beta allowed us to sample just about every aspect of the multiplayer gameplay, aside from not getting access to all of the maps that will be available. We got to play most of the game modes, I believe. Obviously, the single player is going to come out, and that'll be a huge selling point for Call of Duty Modern Warfare as well. But from the multiplayer takeaways, there's a lot of different modes, probably something out there for just about everyone. One mode I wasn't expecting to enjoy quite so much was Gunfight, the 2v2 mode. Oddly, I just thought it was going to be simplistic and gimmicky, but there's something to be said about the simplicity of it all. It's highly competitive, very straightforward, very strategic, and if they can implement some sort of ranked matchmaking system behind that, I think it could be an awesome thing to try and progress through with a buddy. You know, getting two players that are highly organized on the same skill level playing together, that could be fun to watch from an esports perspective as well. When it comes to the standard game modes, I feel like Call of Duty is still essentially Call of Duty, but it's modern military, boots on the ground, and it looks phenomenal. The gun artwork is great. The gun bench stuff, the build-a-class stuff is exceptional. The animations and optic rendering is really top tier. I like so many things about the aesthetic approach of this game. It's really attractive. When it comes to the gameplay itself, though, there's many Call of Duty isms that might be unattractive to the standard Battlefield player. Also, they're bringing in some new things like poor visibility, which I certainly didn't want coming over from the Battlefield franchise into this game. The game's got an insanely fast time to kill, which puts less of an emphasis on recoil control or aiming for certain parts of the body, and just really much more of an emphasis on reaction time. There's an oddly slow ADS time for most of the guns in the game, forcing you into weapon builds that basically just try and improve your ADS speed across the board. That's just what I was doing with almost all of my assault rifles after a while. just because it's so slow and really impairs your ability to react and engage enemies quick enough. I'm not a fan of that at all. Very big emphasis on camping and slow play style. More benefits for doing that, I feel, than in previous Call of Duty games. And then, of course, there's kill streaks all over the place, which if you like kill streaks, then great. If you're not a huge fan of kill streaks and death from above type things going on in your first-person shooters, then you're probably not going to be a huge fan. Now, the standard game modes, again, play out very much like Call of Duty game modes, although the maps seem a little bit more complex, and because of the slow, campy nature of the game, it does seem to exacerbate the camping problem, or rather the lack of gunfights, the lack of shooting and returning fire at other players. There just seems to be a lot less of that because of this sort of maybe enhanced chaotic nature of the mode. There's a lot that Infinity Ward could do to try and remedy this, and I'm sure they're going to try and do a bunch of it between now and when the game actually launches. So they've got a month to do some refinement. Now, the large format game mode called Ground War, which pits 32 players against 32 players in a large map with vehicles and squads and all that kind of stuff going on, is an interesting attempt to sort of provide an alternative to Battlefield's Conquest game mode. In my opinion, it certainly doesn't create a Battlefield-like experience, nor does it create a sense of teamwork. It's a very mixed bag. It really depends what you're looking for from these larger format game modes. To me, it really just felt like a 64-player version of TDM, which can be fun. I did that a lot in Battlefield 3, played the extremely large TDM-style maps, and had a bit of fun with them, but it wasn't something that I would necessarily play all day. Maybe just for a little bit, just to distract me and then move on to something else. That's how I felt with Ground War as well. It could have been due to the fact that we just kept playing the same map over and over again, but I was not particularly impressed with any of the teamwork and the meta, which ultimately came down to tons and tons of kill streaks, using every perk to keep yourself off the radar, and then if you really just wanted to cheese it and be on top of the scoreboard, getting into a vehicle and tank camping on top of a cliff or something. It's not a well-refined game mode in my opinion, and that's coming from a Battlefielder's perspective. If you're a hardcore Call of Duty player, then perhaps this game mode is a bit more exciting because it's providing the same levels of chaos and randomness that you're used to in the standard game mode, but on a larger format, so everything just feels more epic and the kill streaks can be that much more crazy because there's a lot more players. You can go on crazy kill streaks and get into a building and all that stuff, and if you call in a helicopter, before you might have killed 3 or 4 or 5 people, now you can kill a lot more than that because there's so many more people on the battlefield. The lack of proper classes, reviving, classes needing to be reliant on one another to achieve goals is probably going to solidify Ground War as something that will never truly compete with Battlefield, but it'll be probably a fun distraction. I think this mode is the most rough around the edges out of any of the modes that Infinity Ward has presented yet. They probably know this, and I'll be very interested to see what they might change for the final release of the game. I think it'd be great if they remove kill streaks from it, but we'll have to wait and see. As for the future of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, obviously there's a lot to look forward to. Not just more maps and weapons and more content in general, but also new game modes. There's going to be a new Battle Royale mode coming, and with the aesthetics and sort of the overall kind of feeling of this game right now, that's very exciting. Chances are they're also going to change up the TTK and damage model quite a bit, which is one of my bigger knocks against the game in its current state. So for a Battle Royale format, that could actually work out really well. So there's definitely some new things that could really change up this game quite a bit in the future that are supposed to come post-launch, and that's very exciting. Overall, I am excited to play the full retail release of this game. The progression tree is fun. The weapons can be fun. I hope they do a bit more weapon balance. I'd love to see a reduction in the TTK and stuff like that. I think this game's mostly going to be a fun little distractor for me, something for me to kind of spend some time with, blow off some steam with when I'm not in the mood to play Battlefield. But when it comes to directly competing with Battlefield, unfortunately, a lot of the nuanced mechanics in this game are things that I just don't enjoy that much, and I think they're things that have certainly become foundations of the Call of Duty franchise, and it's probably one of the reasons why I just haven't been as into the Call of Duty franchise, because there's just fundamental gameplay aspects that I don't enjoy that much. And so those things are still in this game. Maybe Activision will balance them out and change them to be a little bit better or something that caters to me a little bit more. Maybe they won't, but we'll ultimately have to wait and see. It's still probably going to be an excellent game for the money in terms of how much content it's going to provide. And if you at least enjoy Call of Duty a little, then this is probably going to be an excellent game once it releases. Of course, I will be doing a full review of the game once it does come out officially, and so you can look for my content then. This is just a review of the beta, my experiences with it, and what I anticipate for the future. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.